Now we are going to talk through several different types of question categories and look at some examples of how they ask these types of questions. There's really only a few different types of questions. They just word them all different ways. So whenever you encounter a question, I want you to think about, how is this similar to a simpler type of question I'm used to? There's lots of different ways they ask about the main idea. So they might say paragraph blank focuses primarily on, and then it'll ask you to fill in, choose the choice that makes sense. Focuses primarily still means, what's the main idea? What is the main focus? Oops, see, I cannot underline anything. Or, in other words, it primarily means mainly or mostly, okay? So it's focusing primarily means, is it mostly focusing on what? Mostly. Okay, that's all. It's really just a main idea question for that paragraph, pretty much. What idea does the author communicate with these sentences? Okay, when you read the sentences, and they'll have them down below, or it may tell you to go back into a paragraph. What does the author communicate? Author communicating, when they're communicating an idea, author communicates an idea, they're usually asking you, what do all of those sentences, what message do they send? What idea, main point, are they trying to get across? Also, main idea, or a main point question. It's all it's asking. What is the author trying to get across to you with all of those sentences? In other words, you're going to choose the one that explains the message or main point. The sentence below mainly relates the idea of. Relating just means to share it with somebody. So if you read it and it shares an idea with you, that again is really still just the main idea. What idea does it mainly relate or share with you? Still main idea. They're just asking it a bunch of tricky ways. Of course, there's the old, what is this mainly about? What is it mostly about? That's obviously main idea. All right, now we're going to look at questions where they ask you to choose things that support or emphasize. Okay, these are common. Which of these ideas is reinforced in the selection? Okay, in other words, reinforced means supported and emphasized. Both. It's kind of a combination. Supported and emphasized. In other words, they're making a point of making sure you see it. That's what emphasize means. They're making sure you know this, and it's supported with evidence. So which of the choices when you have A, B, C, D is most supported and emphasized in the passage of the four? Okay? It's very similar to choosing something like a main idea, but it's not mainly only the main idea. It's just, is there support for it? Is there an emphasis for it? So you're going to check each one to see, is there something, do I have evidence to support this one, this one, this one, and this one, each of the four? I know there's nothing there. I'm saying pretend there's choices. Which of these, meaning, and of course they would have something down below, which of these supports the idea that, and then they fill in the blank. It might be, which of these supports the idea that it is important to do the right thing. So you're going to read the four to say which one of those would be something you would include to support what you just said. They have to relate to each other. And if you're saying support, it's like the choice, A, B, C, D, is going to be evidence when it supports it. Just like you guys, when you wrote, you told me a point, and then you would support it with evidence. Sometimes it was examples. Sometimes it was explaining it in a different way. So whatever down below has to be evidence to support whatever they put in this blank, whatever they say you're supposed to support. Okay? Which of the, no, I have that twice, so that's a duplicate. Less for you to write. Then, like in a poem, they'll ask the same kind of thing. The repetition of what blank in the poem is used to emphasize. Now, this could be a word, or it could be a sentence, or a whole phrase. Sentence or a phrase, which is less than a sentence. Okay, so they're going to ask you the repetition of something, and they'll put it in there. In the poem is used to emphasize what? What is it emphasizing? So you need to read that and think about, how does it fit in the poem? You need to not just read the words by themselves. Okay, you need to read the words and see where they are put in the poem and pay attention to it in the whole poem. All right, purpose questions. These didn't come in one at a time, sorry. All of these, and there are others too, I'm not showing every single one, but look at how these are all about purpose. Why did the author include the photograph in the passage? In other words, all they're asking, when it says why, they're asking for the purpose. What is its job? What is the purpose or job of that photo? What is it supporting? Question, what is it supporting? What point is it making? Okay? If they took it out, what would you not know from that? Right? Why did the author include the words blank, whatever words? Or the paragraph? It could be a paragraph, or it could be the sentence. Any of those could be included in the passage. And they will put words here. They will say the words black dog. Okay, well, saying that, that's not a great example, but if it just says the words whatever in the passage, why did they include it? In other words, again, what is the purpose of those words? What is the purpose or job? What is it supporting? Or what point is it making? Question, what is it supporting? What point is it making? Whoops. Okay, that's why I put question mark supporting, question mark point. What is it supporting? What is the point it's making? Okay, the blank, meaning the map, the photo, the chart, the graph, anything like that, is included in the passage most likely to, again, is what is its purpose? In other words, what is the job of that photo? What is it supporting? What point is it supporting? What is its point? What point is it getting across? Okay, you notice a pattern here. All of these purpose questions are really about why is it even there? What is the job of that thing to do? What is it doing in the passage? What information does it give you? The author most likely wrote this selection to. Now we're talking about the purpose of the whole passage. Okay, again, what is the purpose? What is the job of that passage? This is, pretty much the same thing. What does that passage support? What idea is it supporting? Are they trying to convince you of something? Are they trying to just give you information? Are they trying to convince you not to do something? Are they trying to give you a problem and then tell you what the solutions are for that problem, etc.? Now, we're talking about questions where you have to compare passages. And we had several of those, and y'all didn't do as well on those on this last passage. These are questions like, how are the selection and the poem different? How are the drama and the selection alike? Now, what goes here? It varies. I'm showing you that it can change. It might say, how is the article or the passage, or it'll say the name. It'll put it in, like it did on our last one. It said, how is archaeology, blah, 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 similar to, and it'll have the other name of the passage. When it has that, ignore that and just change it to first and second to keep your head straight. Because all those words will confuse you when you keep reading them. Just think of the first passage this, the second passage that. Eliminate it down. Same here. Figure out which one is the selection. Usually the selection is usually going to be like, it's going to be a passage. It's usually going to be expository, the informational type, usually. It will usually say the story, or it'll say narrative if they mean the story. An idea explored, this should say a D, there should be a D right there, in both the passage and the poem or drama is that, okay, again, what idea gets talked about or emphasized or what has support in both of the passage or the poem, or it could say selection and drama, or it could say the names, of the passages. It doesn't matter. The point is you're looking back in those two passages and you need to find a common idea that is in both of them. When you do these, all of these, when it has this and then it'll say, but the other one is this, and then it'll say this, but the other one is this, and it'll say this, and it does that all the way through. And it'll have something about that passage, and then it'll have something about the other passage. You have got to focus on, go back and just look, is this true of the first passage? And check that. Don't worry about what's over here. Just check this. Make that chart like this. And when you have the first one and the second one, and you just say, okay, is this true or not? If it is, then you can put a check here or you can put it here. Then you go check, is this half true? Just look at this separately and go look at the second passage and go check it. Is that true? And you would say, oh, no, it's not true. I'm just making this up. So all the way down, you check, go check. It's actually easier, too, if you will just focus on these. If you'll check this, 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 and this. Focus on one passage. Go to the first passage and look for these four. And say, this one's right, this one's not, this one's right, and that one's not. And you just check them out. Right, wrong, right, wrong. Okay, your chart would be lined up. Then go to your second passage and check all of these. And you'll go, oh, this one's wrong, this one's right, this one's right, that's a check, 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 and that one's wrong. Okay, when you go check, actually go back in the passage and check it. Okay, I'm giving you an example. When you do, then you would say, well, is that one right? No, because one is not right. How about this one? Nope, because that one's not right. Even though this is right, that's not. Even though that's right, that's not. And this one, look, I have check, check. So this one is my answer. There it is. This one, both sides are wrong. Okay, so focus on your first passage. Look up all of these. Look at this half. Then go to the second passage and look up this half so you don't get confused between the passages. Okay, sorry, it's hard to read that now. Which sentence from the selection matches the feeling from the poem below? There's another example. If you need to read the poem, whatever they put in there, they put a feeling, they say this sentence, which of the ones below matches from the other passage? So again, you've got to read what's given to you, and then you have to go back in the other passage to answer that. Okay, drama questions. Stage directions. Make sure you pay attention to stage directions and dialogue. There's questions that'll say what the stage directions and dialogue indicate that. What does indicate mean? Indicate basically just means to show. Where's my cursor now? There it is. Indicate means to show or point out something. Okay, so all you have to do is show. Oops, show should be right here. Show that. So don't worry about this complicated word. If you don't remember, look it up. You can look up words in the question too, not just definition words. The stage directions and dialogue show that what? Go back and look at the stage directions and the dialogue. Just read straight through stage directions, dialogue, just skip all the text, and then think about what the passage is about or the drama is about and say, okay, what is that helping with? What is the information are the stage directions and dialogue giving? Okay? In other words, what idea are they supporting? Okay, another one would be, why does the author include the stage directions at the beginning of the scene? Why do they have them there? In order to answer that, you have to actually read those stage directions they're talking about, but then you need to read what comes after it so you can know how do these relate. Otherwise, you are not going to know why they included them. Again, this is the purpose. What is the purpose? This actually could be on our purpose list too. What is the purpose of the stage directions at that place? Not in general, but what is it doing right there in that spot? Okay, poetry questions. Watch out for figurative language and repetition. A lot of the questions are just like other questions that we do, so they're not that as confusing because they're just like passages that we answer, questions we answer about other stuff for narratives and all that. So what you've got to watch out for is figurative language. What does the repetition, what is wrong with me? Repetition of the word blank emphasize. So repeating a word, what is it emphasizing? In other words, what is its job? What is it pointing out? So go back and look at where that word shows up and what it's doing and think about the meaning of that word. The author used the words what to create what feeling. So you've got to go read those words, but you also need read whatever words are in this blank, you need to read them. But you also need to go back and read other words around it to know what the feeling is and why those words create that feeling. Now, the author uses words blank to emphasize. Now, sometimes they will do, again, point out, what is its job, what is it pointing out? But you've got to watch out for these. The words don't always mean literal. We talked about this in another video, but I want to show you exactly. Similes and metaphors, when you use like or as, when you compare two objects, using either like or as for simile or not for metaphor. Okay? That's when you've got to watch out for those. Personification, when it says something silly like, the wind ran behind me. Well, it's not literally running. It's actually not running. It is actually just talking about how quickly it's coming up behind you. Onomatopoeia are the sound words. Hyperbole, where you're exaggerating. So if they're over-exaggerating, you've got to take that into account when you make a choice. Idioms are where they say something they don't really mean, like raining cats and dogs. You don't really mean the cats and dogs are raining. You're not comparing them, but you're just saying raining cats and dogs, that's not literal. It means it's raining really hard. So that's what they're looking for. Alliteration is beginning sounds matching, okay?